length of the defender from St. Francis in his face. So he had to try to make something happen with the clock winding down and wasn't successful.
If that had gone in, that might have been number one. Just off the mark from Damon Kaiser. And thus ends a breathless first quarter here at the Titan Dome so far. It's lived up to the advanced billing. St. John's up by 2.
BCSN, available exclusively on Buckeye Broadband, is presented by Burger King and by Athletico Physical Therapy.
Set to go for the second quarter here at St. John's. The Titans up 16-14 on St. Francis. Mason Lowry, Darren Cohn, delighted you could join us. Darren, thoughts on the first 8 minutes?
You know, I love that both teams are guarding. I mean, there's been some defensive intensity on both ends. St. Francis has probably been the beneficiary more often, as here you see again their defense turning into offense. But both teams are pressuring the basketball. The crowd's into it, and it has been an exciting first quarter to this ball game.
David Kaiser hits the pull-up J to tie it at 16. The Knights beat Waite 57-35 last time out. That was on Tuesday. McClellan and Claron Hornbeek each had 12 points. They're going to get McClellan here for his second foul. Just the third team foul for St. Francis. 3 called on St. John's in the first quarter as well. McClellan stays in for the moment. The Knights will have to try and hide him defensively so he doesn't pick up a third quick one.
Ooh, the Titans missed Joe Barnes on the slip. He slipped up the screen, ended up wide open underneath the basket.
Lichtenberg, nice find, a cutting Gary Batch. He has 6 points.
Great two-man game. That looked like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Little two-man game with a slip to the rim at the top of the key. Easy, uncontested deuce. See, that's the thing. When you're really being pressured, you break pressure by back cuts to the basket and driving to the rim.
Maybe the first and only time Gary Batch has been compared to Manu Ginobili. Kaiser dives after it. He's tied up. Arrow will keep it with the Knights.
Going to get another look at the top of the key of this little two-man game. Batch sets the screen. Defender gets caught up on the screen. Lichtenberg takes his time, stretches it, takes an extra dribble, pulls his defender with him, delivers the bounce pass for the easy layup.
I was able to just kind of shrug off the taller but more slight Martin Barreto. That found its way to Stephen McCoy in the end. From his drive, he tried to tee up Mays.
Yeah, that worked out for him, but it didn't look pretty. You jump in the air to pass, it usually causes the problem. Knights were able to get a little lucky and make that left-handed layup.
Down goes Kaiser. St. John students letting him hear about it and letting the rest of us hear about that Bubby Barnes 3.
Bubby Barnes from Maumee. The Maumee resident shot that one from downtown.
Given name is Joseph Barnes, but I ran into his mother at a St. John's football game earlier this year. She said, you know to call him Bubby, right? Nobody calls him Joseph. So we will acquiesce.
Hey, when you shoot it with that kind of follow through, we'll call you whatever you like.
Just don't call him late for a 3-point shooting contest. And there's wide. Down goes Kaiser. Wide open. Bang.
Yeah, defender got a little stumbled up, hit the deck, met a few people in the front row of the stands. Barnes says, hey, I'll take advantage of this opportunity. Let one fly.
One freshman to another. Hornbeek, that shot may have been tipped by McCoy, or possibly just short. Greenlee found him for the shot.
Yeah, a little quick by Hornbeek. He was fading away, never really got his feet set. He was excited, you know, try to get that shot up. Freshman on varsity. You want to let it fly against the Knights, so I can't blame him, but you got to connect.
If you're not excited to play in a game like this, you might want to check the old pulse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure that you're functioning properly.
Absolutely.
McCoy, why not from the corner? Little long and the rebound ripped down by Greenlee. The freshman will look to push. Bounced off of Crumby. Barnes will launch another one and hit it.
Back to back, baby. Bang, bang. He said, my mama wants you to call me Bubby, and keep saying it over and over. We'll get you buckets, Mason Lowry.
Well, that's Greenlee in the hip pocket of Crumby, called for his first.
Now, Barnes only averages about 4 points a game, but he got himself 6 in about 30 seconds of game clock. He let that one fly, the big 205-pound junior.
Rashad Craig, Claron Hornbeek back in for St. Francis. Hornbeek having a nice junior year. Played on the junior varsity team at Central Catholic last year we were talking about. This year, 7.1 points, just under 6 rebounds a game.
Yeah, his biggest thing is a consistency. You know, he's either been a double-double guy and changes the game, or he's been relatively a no-show. So they just want consistent play from him because they know he can do it. He can dominate the boards, and he can score inside. Just got to be consistent. And he's probably the most physical interior presence in this game from either side.
There goes Craig, driving baseline, tries to slip that to Barreto, and he's got 2 threes off the bench.
With the arms. That's my guy. 6 feet of arms, 6'7" sophomore, knocking it in from the deep corner. Martin Barreto, number 32 in black.
Did have a game with 5 threes earlier this year. That's a great play by Craig. If he can run it down, he can. All he could do was save it to Batch. Transition look, Greenlee's open. Didn't get the bounce.
You know, Barreto's another guy already above his average with 6 points, only averages 5.5. When you're trying to win on the road in a rivalry game, you need other fellas to step up other than your best player.
That's an offensive foul on Hornbeek as Batch went flying.
Great job by Batch, slide over, give up his body. Little chest action, sold it a little bit. Hornbeek didn't like it. He says, man, I'm a big fella trying to wheel and deal down here, but you gotta, Batch had the spot first. He held his ground, took the hit, offensive foul.
Left his feet after he took the hit. The turnover forced by St. Francis, and then Sam Swift is called for the reach.
Yeah, frustration foul. You know, they took it one-on-one. You know, that's what first guy I ever worked for used to call that a mugging of the guards. They came up and they mugged Sam Swift, took the basketball from him, and Sam had no retaliation other than the foul or give up a layup.
Makes it sound so official and classy, the mugging of the guards. Crumby had to pick up the dribble.
Ooh, travel. Missed the travel there.
Both teams getting bench production, though Rashad Craig couldn't bank that one home. Craig has 3 off the bench. Barreto has hit a couple of threes. McClellan has a bucket. For St. John's, Bobby Barnes, 2 huge threes. Foul inside on the Knights.
Yeah, another great give and go back cut play. They just switched roles. Lichtenberg was cutting. Kennedy Vaughn was delivering the assist. Just weren't able to get the layup up off the glass. Going to get whistled for the foul. Lichtenberg's going to head to that charity stripe.
Brady Lichtenberg, the junior, at the line. The foul was on McCoy, so McCoy now has 2. McClellan has 2. McClellan checks back in along with David Kaiser.
A little shake, rattle, and roll out.
David Kaiser has been playing with a broken finger on his left hand. It was broken early on against Lima Sr. Wipe it away, it's a charge.
Veteran referee Ralph Green was right there on the baseline. He said no go. All Coach Lewis can do on the sideline is take a swig of water. He was frustrated with that one. Nice drive to the rim, gave up his body, got it up on the glass, but the Titans took it away with the charge.
Gary Batch has been a big difference maker in this one, 6 points. He's forced some offensive fouls. 2 in the last couple of minutes. That's a nice cut, but it rolls off for C.J. Hornbeek.
The young buck missed the bunny. You gotta deliver those ones when you get your opportunity.
Oh, Barreto had it blocked by Swift. That's 6-1, climbing the ladder to block 6-7.
Well, the thing about Barreto is he's so long, he hasn't quite grown in his body yet. He's got a lot of motion in his three-point shot, and it takes some time to get the shot off. So that provided the Titan defender ample time to close out, contest, and block that shot. But I understand Barreto's locked and loaded. He's knocked in 2. He says, hey, I got this going. Feed me the rock.
Ron Hornbeek, an unkind bounce.
Nice drop step. Got to point your toe, get more to the middle of the floor. Get your shoulder turned so you can make that lefty hook. You got to be able to dominate that. You're the biggest guy on the floor. You should be punishing the Titan defenders down there in the paint, especially when they're trying to throw the ball to you with your back to the basket.
Swift. Yes. Second 3 of the night for Sam Swift.
Well, you know Sam Swift can put it down from 19-9. Averages 10 points a game. Extends the St. John's lead to 7 as the second quarter winds down.
McClellan, no. Well defended by Lichtenberg.
Yeah, I think Lichtenberg even got a little contact there. It's certainly very well contested.
Swift drives, sets up Batch, and that all started with Gary Batch having perfect balance on the baseline at the other end as the Titans came back the other way.
Yeah, St. John's is doing a terrific job of cutting to the basket to alleviate St. Francis' defensive pressure. A terrific job. St. Francis, Mike Schoen says, hey, you want to get out here and pressure us heels outside the three-point line? Okay, we're going to sweep and drive to the basket, and we're going to cut guys from the top of the key or from the weak side of the floor. All we got to do is fake a pass and make a pass, deliver those bounce passes for layups.
Travis Lewis really getting into his team right now. It's the most they've trailed in this opening half, now down by 9.
You know, and right now it's about the half court, or excuse me, it's the help side defense. Because St. John's has made an adjustment. St. Francis came out and said, listen, we're going to get up in you, we're going to pressure you, we're going to make you uncomfortable. In that first quarter, it worked. They turned 4 or 5 opportunities from defense into offense. But now St. John's has said, hey, don't worry about it. We're going to cut from the weak side. We're going to put the ball on the deck. We're going to break this pressure. And St. Francis hasn't done a good job of rotating over from help, bumping cutters, taking on cuts with your chest. And St. John's has exploited them there in the second quarter with layups. So now it's a chess match. Whose move is up next?
Kaiser can put a move on Vaughn. Hornbeek fouled on the way up.
David Kaiser swept it into that gap, took on 2 defenders, took a little body, had a little contact, no call from the officials. But the Knights kept playing, offensive rebound, and the big fella's heading to the free throw line. He's 59% on the season from the charity stripe.
It still hasn't scored in this opening half.
Yeah, and you know, he's averaging, as you alluded to, a little over 7 points a game. And tonight's one of those nights that Coach Lewis needs a double-double from him. You know, like I told you, he's either gotten a double-double, I think he's got 4 double-doubles on the season, but in the other games, he's done little or nothing in terms of in the stat sheet. They need him to show up tonight. Still got over 17 minutes of ball game, though, so he's got plenty of time.
Lichtenberg forced it into the paint. There were 3 defenders around him, and the outlet pass from McClellan a little long. A couple of guys back defensively, though, for St. Francis. Inside the final minute of the opening half. Deflected out. It was a nice job by Vaughn to step through and almost get a shot up. Preston Mays returns for the Knights. Good hands by Batch. That's a mismatch. Josh King rotated onto him in the low post. King, a senior, just 5'11", and Batch bigger and stronger. He's got 10 points.
And I'll tell you what, Mason, that was a tough catch.
And that's another offensive foul taken by Batch.
Yeah, Batch is doing the blue-collar tough things. But that was a tough catch. You're going to see this again. Oh, no, here's the charge. He had all day. He stood there, he mounted up, arms up big, good stance, took the hit.
You can see that move coming all the way down Airport.
Yeah, hey, I'm big, strong, and tough. I can give up my chest. Yes, we're going to take another look at this post feed. Look at this catch as he comes off the back cut. That was a tough contested catch. The defender was on top, had an arm in the passing lane. Batch had to go meet the pass, catch it, pivot, and score. That's a skilled play that not a lot of high school kids can make. It seems simple. Hey, it was just a 2-point layup. That's a tough play.
I don't think a timeout was called. I think just some condensation on the floor being wiped up. Bobby Barnes back in for the Titans. Gary Batch, the star of the show thus far. 10 points to lead the way for St. John's, and he has taken 3 charges.
The toughness. And, hey, he's made some great assist pass. He's been doing the little things that won't show up in the Blade tomorrow.
I tell you what, a lot of the really good St. John's teams we've seen since I started covering games here on BCSN have had a guy like Gary Batch.
Every single one of them. Every single one of the Ed Heinzel teams have had a guy who just comes in and does the tough, dirty things. Maybe doesn't get a lot of points. Some nights they do. Everyone has their chance. But, there's always a guy who's not the leading scorer, second leading scorer, who does that little intangible glue stuff.
Batch missing from close range, and St. Francis comes up short on the shot from full court. Heck of a first half here on Ed Heinzel Court at the Titan Dome. St. Francis, remember, won both matchups between these two proud programs last year. Right now it's going the way of St. John's. 10 points for Gary Batch, and the St. John's lead is 11.
BCSN, available exclusively on Buckeye Broadband, is presented by Siena Heights University, celebrating 100 years, and by Gallon, Takis, and Boisenall.
It's halftime here at St. John's, round one of this great rivalry. Going away the Titans right now, 32-21 on St. Francis. Let's have a look at the first half highlights before St. John's started to pull away in the second quarter. Very even game in the first.
Yeah, no doubt. Defense was creating offense for the Knights. They were getting some layups by pressuring the basketball and forcing turnovers. And St. John's was doing what they do, knocking down from the three-point line, spreading the court, sharing the basketball, and banging it in from 19-9.
Martin Moreno proved that he could do so as well. He came off the bench for St. Francis and hit a couple of them, and there, just like you said, defense into offense. Gazelle Brumby with a transition layup off the turnover. That was maybe the play of the half from Rashad Craig, contorting his body under the rim, getting it to go.
It was certainly fun to watch. Anytime a little guy can get in there at the rim and dipsy do it, you know, do something that you can see with your eyes, but you know you can't do with your own body.
We saw a lot of St. Francis highlights early on. It's going to start to cue the direction of St. John's as we progress. Bobby Barnes, huge with 2 threes off the bench.
Two big threes, and they were back-to-back in a stretch where the game was knotted up. And former Central Catholic and Notre Dame grad, NFL quarterback Deshaun Kaiser. He was a basketball star in high school too for Jim Welling.
He sure was, and he's here to watch his little brother David.
Hey, and he was 2 for 2 so far from the free throw line. 3 for 3.
Not something you see every day, a former Central Catholic player shooting free throws in front of the St. Francis student section and them going nuts in his favor. Halftime here at the Titan Dome. Gary Batch, here's 2 of his 10 first half points. Titans up 11. Both teams back out on the floor at halftime. Second half starting in just a little bit. St. John's up 32-21 on St. Francis. First half numbers coming your way now. St. John's, that's an awfully impressive percentage. 57% from the floor, 5 of 9 from 3. As far as St. Francis is concerned, they're getting good looks at times. They're just not falling for them.
Yeah, you know, and I think they've had to work a little harder in the second half for their shots. You know, they fell in love with the three-point shot there for a second, but St. John's has gotten some more high-percentage layups in the half court. They were able to get some back cuts, some cuts from the weak side, deliver nice entry passes for high-percentage layups.
Oddly enough, 9 St. John's turnovers. Some of that is down to the athleticism of St. Francis. It feels like the Knights do have a quickness advantage at some spots on the floor, but given where the score is right now, the turnovers didn't really hurt too much.
Well, in the first quarter, it certainly did. I mean, St. Francis was really heating up the basketball. Majority of them turnovers were in the first quarter, where St. Francis jumped out to a lead and were getting those layups, uncontested layups off of steals and picking off passes in the passing lane. But St. John's made a nice adjustment. You know, in the half court, they started breaking St. Francis half court pressure for easy buckets themselves.
Moreno leading the way for St. Francis with 6 points off the bench. Crumby and McCoy with 4 each. And Batch with 10 big ones though for St. John's.
And that's not enough for Crumby. And also you notice there's no Hornbeak for St. Francis over there. And that, I mean, Hornbeek has to get it. He's the biggest, strongest, most physically imposing guy in the game. He has to get a couple buckets there in that first half. So they're going to need Crumby and Hornbeek to step up here in the second half if they want to climb back into this one.
That's the voice of Darren Cohn. I'm Mason Lowry. Great to have you with us. St. John's pulling away in the second quarter despite Thomas Zyrus sitting the last 14 minutes of the first half, having picked up a second early foul, so he should be fresh. And there he is, teeing up Batch, who missed it. Able to bash it back out to the perimeter, though. That's C.J. Hornbeek, who hits the three, the freshman.
The rookie. You know, and another heady play. You know, Batch misses a layup, but he didn't pout, he didn't sulk, he kept playing, made the heady play, tapped it out to his teammate, knocks in the open three. St. Francis was already getting ready to bring the ball up the court. They just assumed it was a made layup. You know, that's the other thing. You know, St. John's was able to make it through the majority of that first half with that foul trouble, and it didn't, you know, it didn't affect them. St. Francis wasn't able to take advantage inside with one of, you know, St. John's best bigs on the bench.
That's what Claron Hornbeek has to do more of, really force the issue and bully his way to the basket.
You know, and bullying, if you want to use the word bully, that's perfect, but he turned his whole hip, pointed his toe, and got his shoulders turned to make that hook shot in the middle of the lane, which is he wasn't doing in the first half. That was a nice bucket by him. If I'm St. Francis, I'm going right back to him next half court opportunity.
McCoy, the soft touch in the lane. Stevens now got 6 points. St. Francis back within 10.
And if you're Travis Lewis, you gotta love the first punch. 2 quick buckets, a forced turnover. Stopping a bucket here, it's back into single digits. There's the stop. No look pass to the wrong team.
Hornbeek threw it away. In transition, McCoy. Claron Hornbeek, the offensive rebound, the spin of the missed shot. Kind of a wild one in the end.
Yeah, he's not comfortable using his left hand. Got to get in the gym. That's an easy left-handed layup, but he tried to force it back to his right and got him all balanced and awkward.
Seen some real sloppiness from both teams coming out of the locker room, haven't we?
Yeah, they're nervous. You know, they both just got lectured for different reasons by their coach. They're trying to make some adjustments. They come out, they're a little rattled. You know, you didn't get that nice little 20-minute warm-up where you're feeling good and seeing your friends and listening to the tunes. A little nervous right here.
Beating Hornbeek again. Seems like St. Francis making a conscious effort to get him the ball. It's not really paying off so far. That's St. John's ball out of bounds. Hornbeek has gotten a couple of looks. Only one of them has gone down.
Yeah, and that was a decent move too. He just isn't as comfortable with that left hand. You know, he didn't want to get his shoulders fully squared, and he kind of shot putted it up at the rim instead of breaking his wrist with the hook.
Swift, too much. David Kaiser with the rebound. Only scored 2 points in the first half. Yeah, he came down before he got rid of the ball.
Sure did. That's a great call. You know, he's pushing the basketball. Really, he started pushing it 1-on-2 defensive disadvantage. Couple nights ran into the screen, but just a little too sped up. He just didn't have nowhere to go. Especially when you're smaller than your defender. He just didn't have anywhere to elevate to, no one to make a play with. You gotta let someone get out. If you don't have a breakaway for a layup, you gotta let one of your teammates get ahead of the basketball with you.
Swift. Put back there from Batch on the foul committed by McCoy.
Tough, tough, tough. Batch making something happen. Lichtenberg didn't deliver a great pass to Swift. Swift had to lean to go get it, so his trigger was a little off, missed the three, but no rotation down by Steven Kuko from St. Francis. You got to rotate down, and you got to block out that big, and he didn't do it, so now Batch is back at the free throw line.
Stephen McCoy just picked up his third foul. He's someone who does have energy and can create a shot.
Yeah, he plays with a lot of energy. He just probably missed that block out. You got to get in there and help side. And that's been the biggest thing, I think, that when Coach Lewis looks at this film, he's got to love his man-to-man on-ball pressure, his man-on-man defense. But the help side, the rotations, they're not quite there yet, at least for the speed and pace of this basketball game.
Karsten Mays, that's well done over Batch.
Very nice, I love it. Caught it, chinned it, took his time, back to the basket, turned and knocked it in.
First points for the 6'7" junior.
You know, both Hornbeak and Carson Mays are getting some interest from Lord University Grey Wolves on the recruiting trail. Both head and assistant coach from Lords have taken in Knights games this year to check out Mr. Mays and Hornbeak.
Nice drive from Swift. Maybe a little too close to the basket. Hangs his head as a good three-point shooter. McClellan, a good three-point shooter as well.
Yeah, McClellan was so open, he was looking around like, what do I do with it? I'm gonna let it fly. He's made some big shots in his time at St. Francis.
That's 10 seconds in the backcourt. Giselle Crumby disrupting Brady Lichtenberg.
Yeah, I mean, again, St. Francis's on-ball pressure has been excellent tonight. It's been tremendous.
Back to that Lord's point for a moment. I love the job that Dennis Hobson has done really from day one, trying to get guys from around the Toledo area. Not something that all Lord's head coaches have done since they started the basketball programs there.
Yeah, whenever you take over a college basketball program.
The flush from Karsten Mays off the feed from McClellan.
That would look good in a Grey Wolves uniform.
Indeed it would. Look good in any uniform.
Nice little drop off for the pogo stick. Boom. But yeah, any college basketball program, if you can recruit local, you can recruit within an hour, hour and a half of your program. It certainly makes things a lot easier. And Dennis Hobson has done a terrific job bringing in some local guys, and not just token guys to be on the roster, guys that are coming in and making an impact.
Extra pass for Sam Swift, his third three of the game.
And that one was a terrific pass, delivered right to the pocket, locked and loaded, nothing but the bottom of the net.
St. John's won't mind trading baskets with St. Francis, but the Knights need buckets and stops.
Yeah, the thought that was just on my mind. You know, St. Francis is scoring inside. They've gotten a little spark, but they got to get some stops at the other end.
McClellan around and out.
Now, I love that action there with Karsten Mays. He didn't feel comfortable with the shot, but I'd keep feeding him. He's feeling good right now, got a couple buckets. He's screening and rolling. He's working hard. You know, you score, all of a sudden your energy just picks up a level for most players.
Cyrus on the attack to the free throw line. Have another look.
You want to see
pass
something?
From McClellan.
Yeah, you want to see something on your TV screen that Mason and I can't do? A little drop down, two-hand catch. Get up there and break the rim a little bit.
Well, I know I can't do that. I'm not going to speak ill of you.
Well, I need about 5 steps to start and a step ladder, and then I could do it. But he did that off the vertical. Caught it with 2 hands, straight up, straight down. Break the breakaway rim a little bit. Karsten Mays. At 188 pounds, that's probably generous. I don't think he's 188 pounds, but he might not weigh enough to make the rim breakaway.
Cyrus split the free throws. We talked about Fizell Crumby in the open. He's been very quiet offensively, just 4 points, 9 shy of his season average. Clangs that three off the side of the rim.
Yeah, a couple feet behind the three-point line. Love to see him just a tad bit closer. You know, he's best catching it off the catch like that, and they set him up well, just couldn't get the finish.
Swift got that to swirl home.
A little more of the same. St. John's cutting the Knights up from the weak side with their backdoor cuts. Relieving pressure with the backdoor cut. Easy reverse layup for the Titans. Timeout Knights.
St. John's, they've been carving St. Francis apart since the end of that first quarter. Really nice and crisp cut from Swift.
And with that one, you know, it's much harder to have help side defense because the ball was in the middle of the floor at the top of the key. The ball's in the middle of the floor, no rotation over, easy reverse layup.
Now, let's talk Gary Batch. We can't talk enough about him tonight. He was big in that second quarter, offensively and defensively.
I mean, he's just doing all the little things. You know, he's scoring layups, made his open jumper, but he's doing the tough things. 3 charges, lots of deflections. Heck of a play to start the third quarter where he missed the layup, but he tipped it out to the freshman at the three-point line for a catch-and-shoot 3. I mean, Gary Batch, you don't gotta say nothing. Just look at your screen. Highlight show, and I think that's a baby flex. That's a little flex. Showing you them little dents in his arms. Like, I've been in the weight room. The weight room's just through this wall behind us, Mason. He's been in there getting work done.
I think I might need to hang out in there a little bit.
Toughness. Number 32 in the white has displayed nothing but grit and toughness tonight, and he's a main reason why the Titans have a 15-point lead on Ed Heinzel Court on their home floor in track play.
The Knights, Darren, need a basket in the worst way.
Well, that's not how you're going to get it.
That won't do. Batch, that's pinned by Mays, punched it out to Swift. That swirls out. And Mays collects for St. Francis. That's a get-out-of-jail free card.
Yeah, way to
Knights,
go
that
get it back
sequence.
by Mays, because, you know, we just highlighted Batch. He makes another defensive play, but Mays cleaned that up for him.
McCoy couldn't stay out of the game any longer. He had to sit with 3 fouls. He now has 8 points.
Carson Mays has great length.
Batch, not a guy that will necessarily hunt for shots. He might hunt for the cut. Sam Swift.
Yeah, again, St. Francis, I mean, that time it was Rashad Craig. He just didn't jump to the ball on the pass. St. John's coming off that baseline flex cut. Swift popped to the top of the key, quick back cut, layup.
Barreto's got another 3.
And St. Francis needed that in the worst way.
This is a full timeout. We'll step away. 1:14 left in the third. Might call this death by 1,000 cuts. Sam Swift going back door. He's got 13, and the lead is 12 for the Titans. .112 left in the third quarter here at the Titan Dome. St. John's up by 12. That full court pressure from St. Francis leads to a turnover. Kennedy Vaughn dragged the back foot, so St. Francis with a chance to cut it to 10 or to 9 with a 3.
And that's what they needed, you know, coming out of that timeout was a stop. You know, one of the things Mike Schoen talked about as areas of growth for this team is we got to get tougher and find more consistent depth. Well, I think they've shown a lot of toughness tonight. They've done some tough things. The depth, you know, has been up and down. They got some good contributions in the first quarter. The other thing as a key to this game said, hey, we gotta handle the pressure of St. Francis on the basketball. And I don't think they've done a great job of that. They've defended St. Francis shooting averagely. They haven't really had to attack St. Francis zone. They only showed a possession or 2. But they definitely have limited their bigs inside. But the area for St. John's growth will be to handle that on-ball pressure.
That's huge from Fizell Crumby. Chance for 3 at the line, and the made free throw would cut it to a 9-point game.
You know, he's got the respect of the defense where they closed out hard on him, so he was able to rip it to his right hand. Straight line drive down the basket. Get a chance for a 3-point play here. Crumbly 76% on the season from the charity stripe. Be interested to see on a make if St. Francis jumps into a little full court defense, but that comment's null and void if it doesn't go through the net.
We'll see if it happens next time.
Good heat again.
Really had it stripped. That's
Nice
a backcourt violation forced by Rashad Craig.
Yeah, that's a senior saying, listen, man, we're not just going to go down like this. We're going to fight to the end. Rashad Craig just made a heck of a defensive play. Unfortunately, he already had a sub for him at the table. Sometimes young guys don't understand that. He's subbing out. He's like, oh, coach, I just made a great play. Well, you know, whatever Coach Lewis's substitution pattern was, it wasn't because of that play. He already had a sub at the table for him.
McCoy puts his head down and drives,
Nice jump
Tipped
stop.
the way up by Cyrus.
Yeah, it was a good idea. Kukoi jump stop, shot fake, but then he tried to shoot it too quick. He didn't give the defender enough time to fly by. He was in the air. The defender was going to clear.
Ed Heinschel
taking a little peek at the rivalry, you know, right over our shoulders from the camera booth. Checking in on his protege, Mike Schoen. It's such an interesting story that Ed Heinschel graduated from St. Francis and then had such a long and amazing tenure at St. John's Jesuit.
But he's left the program in the excellent hands of Mike Schoen. Off to a 6-3 start to his head coaching career. Win number 7 would be extra sweet if they can get this one over the line against their arch rivals. McCoy, the drive and dish. Kaiser into the paint, too much. Barreto. Boarded by Lichtenberg.
Yeah, Kaiser got right to the cup, just wasn't able to finish. Stayed with it, got the offensive.
Oof. Might have slipped out of the right hand of Thomas Cyrus.
Well, and our friendly Toledo police officer was butt down, hands ready to let that fly. Caught it with 2 hands.
Final seconds. McCoy fouled by Lichtenberg. Let's see, Shane Garcia in for the first time for the final 1.3 seconds of this quarter. Big 6'4" junior, averages 4.5 points a game. For the first we've seen of him tonight. Kaiser. So 8 minutes left in this one. The 3 ball wouldn't go at the horn. St. John's up by 10.
$259 is the overall ticket number 6901922.
BCSN, available exclusively on Buckeye Broadband, is presented by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you, and by Yark Automotive, just what you're looking for.
Inside the final 8 minutes at the home of the Titans, the Titan Dome at St. John's, up by 10 on St. Francis. Swift and Batch have led the way with 13 points. Scooped up on McCoy in that scramble in the paint. McCoy attacks, lost it, touched him last on its way out of bounds.
Yeah, good long possession. The Titans were doing a good job in their half-court defense, and Kukoi put his head down and said, hey, I'm going to go make a play. Just fumbled the ball out of bounds. I like the aggressiveness. And now, you know, if you're St. Francis, you got to get to work in a hurry on creating some stops and some turnovers, because the clock becomes your enemy. 7.5 minutes to go and you're down double figures. You know, a lot of credit to the adjustments and the coaching job that Mike Schoen has done, not only tonight, but this season, taking over from the legendary Ed Heinschel. And you know, you got to have great assistants and a great staff to do all the behind the scenes work. And Mike has a great group with Jason Moss and Doug Whiteman and St. John's grad Max Tournay.
Playing free safety there was Rashad Craig. Ironically enough, a terrific quarterback during football season for St. Francis. There's Crumby. That would have been huge. cut it to 7, but McKinstry grabbed the rebound and off the bench. Nice to be able to bring a guy in like Jaden McKinstry with all of his size and prodigious athleticism. There's that cut again. This time it's Cyrus, and he'll head to the line.
Yeah, and it's been a broken record, a repeating theme. You know, those weak side flashes and cuts by the Titans have been very problematic for St. Francis, really from the start of the second quarter on.
Now, the Cyrus, of course, has a lot of Division I football looks.
And does a little bit of everything on the basketball court. Only 3 points a game, but averages 3 assists, 4.5 rebounds, a block, 1.5 steals. You know, just does a little bit of everything for you. Another one of them guys you kind of alluded to earlier that can contribute in the kitchen in a lot of ways. Little salt, little pepper, little basil. Creates a beautiful, beautiful soup at the end.
Lead back up to 12 for the Titans. Craig trying to break down C.J. Hornbeek. McCoy thought about the shot, passed it up. There will be a better look out there for them. St. John's fans loving this defense. Not allowing the Knights anything easy right now. Kaiser had to pick up the dribble. Great stuff from the Titans. Now Craig attacks the Euro step around Cyrus.
Tried to repeat that lefty flip from the first half and wasn't able to get it up on the glass high enough.
Hornbeek around Barreto, couldn't flip it in. McCoy, that was awkward from the very first step. Merrill will give it to St. John's. Batch returns for St. John's, and Travis Lewis will send Karsten Mays back in along with Josh King. Wonder how much the heat in here is affecting the amount of condensation that's building up on the floor. It is very, very warm.
I know there's a lot of condensation on the top of my dome. It is warm in here. We're at the top where the heat rises to.
Might have to wring out our headsets at the end of the night. The Titans turn it over. Batch trying to find McKinstry.
Yeah, that pass was a little too fast for the big fella McKinstry streaking down the court.
Big Hornbeek back in for St. Francis. McClellan returns also. McClellan has not made a 3 in this game, but that would be a good time for his first.
Yeah, he's had a couple good looks. Has not been able to connect. Well, he's about 29% on the season from the three-point line. We know he can knock them in. Averages 8 points a game, and he hasn't gotten there yet tonight.
McClellan driving, swirled out. It's been that kind of night for St. Francis in many respects.
Yeah, so close.
Oof! Hornbeek blocking Hornbeek.
He returned that one to center like Hassan Whiteside. Even had the reaction of Hassan Whiteside. Little replay there. Get that out of here, young fella. Not coming down this lane and getting an easy one. Freshman? It's like walking down Senior Hall, man. You can't just walk down Senior Hall when you're a freshman.
Brady Lichtenberg is down for St. John's. And now being helped to his feet. You would hope maybe a cramp as he gingerly makes his way to the bench.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed before the game is I always recall him wearing knee braces and things, and that was one of the first things I noticed in warm-ups, that he didn't have any type of extra support on those legs.
St. John students firing off 2 cries of "We love Brady."
Does that make them the Brady Bunch over there?
You're a bad, bad man. And yes, of course it does.
That's all I got for you tonight, Mace.
Hey, if you can only pick one joke, that's a darn good one. That's not a bad idea, actually, if they, for the rest of this season and next year, want to rebrand themselves as a student section, Brady's Bunch or something
Brady
like
Bunch.
that.
Referee crew said, hey, you're not getting a free timeout here. We're just cleaning up a little sweat.
Well, the St. John students certainly enjoying themselves. Maybe they saw the Jeopardy Greatest of All Time tournament the last couple of nights, which I meant to DVR and completely forgot about. So I hope none of them spoil the ending for me.
I watched a few minutes of it, maybe a half hour.
Now Hornbeek stepped on the baseline.
Yeah, the freshman being aggressive. Got outside that blue line. And here come the Knights. They got enough time for one last push. Down 12, just under 5 minutes left. They got to get it in short order though. Buckets and stops.
Back to that turnover for a second. There are some turnovers that will drive coaches absolutely insane. Is that one you can maybe live with a little bit because it's a kid trying to make a play, be aggressive?
Yeah, he's being aggressive, and that's the gamble when you put freshmen, on varsity in these type of environments. They've never been through this before, so just showing that poise and composure, most freshmen aren't going to have that. So you got to live with a couple errors, couple mistakes, because they're trying hard, they're trying to do right. And obviously you believe in them and they have a lot of talent, or they'd be on the freshman or JV squad.
Great work from Stephen McCoy to get St. Francis back within 10. There's the cut. That's the other freshman, Michael Greenlee, his first points.
The give and go. Greenlee's just a little 5'9" fella, but he got that floater in the middle of the lane to drop.
That's the 4th charge taken by Gary Batch tonight. And again, I think we'll have to dry off the floor. Does such a good job at getting to the spot, staying upright. Not everybody wants to take those shots straight on.
Oh, most people are afraid to sacrifice their body because it might hurt a little bit. They might get knocked down and get a boo-boo or an owie. Gary Batch has no time to hear any of that. He needs a little fan club. We need the little Batch squad.
Gary's gang, maybe?
A batch of boys?
There you
Gary?
go.
There you go. He keeps taking these charges. He's going to get some sort of endorsement deal around town.
It's been a well-officiated game, too, it must be said.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Ben Soroka, Ralph Green, putting in work. Everybody's here tonight. All the media outlets, eHoops Online, some recruiting services. Everybody want to see the rivalry. One of the best environments in the state of Ohio tonight for high school boys basketball, if not the best.
Yep, Greenlee got trapped on the sideline and wisely called a timeout. This will be a full timeout. With 3:52 left in the 4th, we'll step aside. Midway through the fourth quarter, St. Francis running a little bit low on time to mount a comeback, down by 12. They have been ice cold from the floor in this fourth quarter. You and I were talking about this just a moment ago off air. What this team could really use is a 3-ball or two, both to energize the team and energize this crowd a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I've talked a lot tonight about St. Francis's ball pressure and pressure on the ball, but this fourth quarter, St. John's has been tremendous in the half-court defense. I mean, they've been guarding, so St. Francis hasn't gotten any good quality looks. And what's happened is it's been a long possession, and then they've tried to force something one-on-one, but they got to do something offensively here in this last 3:41 to get some good looks. You know, different play, different offense, a little continuity, something to break down this stifling St. John's half-court defense that we've seen the last 8 to 10 minutes of game clock.
That's another one on Rashad Craig, and that's starting to get a little bit feisty. Craig, the senior, against Greenlee, the freshman. I don't think Rashad is too pleased. He's going to come out, and David Kaiser will replace him. And Stephen McCoy will return as well. That was the 7th foul on St. Francis, so Greenlee heads to the line.
David Kaiser's got to come in and make something happen. Be aggressive. His big brother, Deshaun Kaiser, back home from the Oakland Raiders in NFL, stopped in to say hello, just exited the building, coming in to support little brother. Interesting that Deshaun went to Toledo Central Catholic and his brother's over at Toledo St. Francis. Good call, getting ready to be an over the back, but there was a lot of body pushing him that way. Blocking foul on Sam Swift, so the Knights are going to trigger here from the sideline again.
Claron Hornbeek back in. Getting kind of an ironic cheer from the St. John students whenever he comes in off the bench. All part of life's rich pageant, I guess.
Yeah, he replaced Carson Mays. You know, Carson Mays had a really strong, about a 3-minute stretch to start the third quarter. And then just didn't really hear from him again after that. I was getting excited to see what he was going to deliver in that second half, and it was sort of a bit of a teaser, never followed through.
Greenlee there fouling McCoy.
Yeah, you mentioned this game's gotten a little chippy. Also, the pace has really slowed down. A lot more whistles, a lot more tip outs where the ball's having to be re-entered, stoppage of play, so there hasn't been a whole lot of flow in this fourth quarter.
Boy, the only St. Francis player in double figures with 11. The rest of the St. Francis starting 5 has just 14 combined points, and that will not get it done on the road. And oftentimes doesn't get it done anywhere.
Yeah, St. Francis is averaging 54 points a game on the season. And, you know, as of right now, it looks like they're going to be well short of that, sitting on 40 with three minutes left. And St. John's had another layup there. Batch just couldn't see over the defender.
Greenlee. High arcing shot over the outstretched arm of Mays.
Yeah, smart play by Greenlee, too. The young freshman. You know, most guys would have taken that all the way into the rim and gotten blocked. He said, you know I'm a little fella. I see all this length in front of me. I'm going to stop for the 9-10-foot floater, pop it up over the defender's arm with a nice little rainbow, and get me 2 in the scorebook. But Gary Batts got fouled about 3 times there. Finally got the whistle to go his way. And he's going to be heading to the charity stripe as St. John's is in the bonus. St. Francis is taking advantage of a free timeout here. It looks like they got somebody fouling out.
Stephen McCoy.
Yeah, he fouled out with his 5th foul, so Coach Lewis has a minute to pick a sub, so he was stealing a timeout there before he decided to put the long, lanky Martin Barreto back in. Had a bright spot in the first half, banged in a few threes. Never too late to get a few more up there hoisting them from 19-9.
Gary Batch has been immense all game long. That cheer means Claron Hornbeach is coming back in. St. John's went down to Miami and played in a tournament first week of January. They won 2 of their 3 games down there, including hanging 101 teams on Monsignor Pace on a Miami beach. Kaiser stepped out of bounds right in front of his head coach. Travis Lewis not too pleased with him.
A great little trip down to Miami for the Titans. And as part of that, after their business was over, you know, it's a business trip, but you want it to be educational and you want to have some fun. They took in the Duke Miami Hurricanes basketball game.
Very educational.
Yeah, really neat experience. You get to see some of the best players in the world at the college level, the Duke Blue Devils. And the Miami Hurricanes are coached by Coach Jim Larinaga.
CJ Hornbeak for 3, and that should just about wrap it up.
Yeah, that's going to do it for tonight. Jim Larinaga, the former BGSU coach who had 2 sons who played here at St. John's, both Jay and John Larinaga.
Gary Batch was on the all-tournament team for that Bellin Jesuit tournament. Josh King to the line.
Calling for 10 St. Swift is 4-2-6. On the line for bench number 5, Josh King.
This was a 2-point game at the end of the first quarter, and it has been mostly St. John's ever since. Titans will have to make that tough trip down to Findlay on Tuesday. Crumby took it away from the freshman Greenlee. And one more coming at the line. And a frustrating night for Crumby, 8 points, well, shy of his average thus far. And he's a guy who has a reputation as being someone that can make threes in bunches. In fact, he has 4 games this year where he's made 3 or more, hasn't made any tonight.
Yeah, if he can make this free throw, St. Francis have a chance to display a little of that pressure, but Coach Lewis is going to call a timeout. And this is really a coaching moment here for Coach Lewis, but we'll talk more about it when we come back.
.14 St. John's lead, 1:40 to go.
Close to the conclusion of the game, whatever that may be, we do ask that you please stay off of the gym floor as best as possible. Thank you.
And the announcement now being made, reminding fans to stay off the gym floor. That's because some people have started to head for the exits, and they are traipsing along the sideline and baseline.
Yeah, it looks like the Titans are going to protect home court and leave with a win tonight. They put on a nice show for the home fans, and it wasn't easy. St. Francis applied a lot of pressure tonight, made it tough for the Titans, but the Titans did a good job of stepping up to the challenge. A multitude of guys raising to the occasion, making tough plays tonight.
So Batch back to the free throw line. Game high 15 points. And if you would have thrown some names at me before tip-off as to who might be the leading scorer in this one, I doubt Gary Batch would have come out of your mouth, but here he is, leading everybody.
You probably wouldn't have picked Gary Batch, but at the same time, you know, this being a rivalry game, him and Sam Swift are the only seniors, and this is a game that he's going to remember for the rest of his life. You know, you don't want to leave St. John's after your senior career sitting on a loss to your arch rival. So sure he wanted to leave it all on the floor tonight. You know, you make that first play, start feeling good, the juices are flowing, and it just gets a lot easier for you the rest of the game. And he's brought it offensively and defensively all night long.
Craig had it blocked, got it back, hit the jumper. And another timeout taken by Travis Lewis with 1:03 left.
Yeah, Rashad Craig's had some really nice stretches tonight. It hasn't been a consistent entire game, but he's had some nice stretches on offense. He really created some havoc defending on the basketball early in the game. And he's had a nice little outing. Number 1 for St. Francis, the 5'11" senior.
And a nice outing for Mike Schoen, his first time in this rivalry as a head coach. His team has made 8 threes. They've hit around 50% of their shots overall, and they've played some very, very good defense.
Absolutely, and they're always gracious hosts to us. You know, you and myself and all the BCSN crews will certainly have to thank St. John's and Athletic Director Bob Ronay, who's a few seats down on SJJ Titan Radio. Wears a lot of hats here in the athletic director role.
Inside the final minute. St. John's right now, it's all about playing keep away.
Yep, they're going to take the air out the basketball and make St. Francis foul them to stop the clock. You may not see the Titans take another shot unless it's a breakaway layup other than from the free throw line.
Should be a really good game on Tuesday. St. John's going down to Findlay. Findlay team to beat St. Francis by 20 not too long ago. They got a really talented underclassman in A.J. Adams. That's a really good team. Jim Ruckey, a tremendous head coach.
Yeah, the Titans got a tough stretch here in the track because they play St. Francis, Findlay, Central Catholic back to back. All this in the next 7 days.
You know, you and I will be on the call for that St. John's Central game next Friday, and then the next night, St. John's plays Anthony Wayne here in a game you can catch on BCSN. You know you're going to be in a battle when you go up against this Anthony Wayne team. So many guys from football, they're big and strong and athletic. Couldn't quite save it. Well, the Knights will drop to 6-5. Fall to an even 3-3 in the conference. Not getting easier for them either. They go to Central Catholic on Tuesday. It's another team that's big and strong and full of football guys. St. John's right now, in case you can't quite make out what's being said.
Oh, I could
cycling through all the sports in which they beat St. Francis recently. Football to hockey to soccer, just like golf now. Okay.
And whichever team in this rivalry is having the better sports season, that's the standard cheer. That cheer goes back 30 or 40 years. Just like football, soccer, golf, hockey. And then tonight it'll be basketball as the Titans are going to come out victorious on their home floor.
Yeah, you know, in some ways, the old ways are still the best. I think the freshmen have acquitted themselves well for St. John's. Hornbeak and Greenlee combined for 14 points.
Yeah, and great energy. They came in, you know, it's not perfect. Freshmen are going to make mistakes, but they played confident. They played with energy. Did some nice things. And the Mike Schoen era streak is now at 1-0 over the St. Francis Knights.
Huge win for Coach Schoen. Of course, longtime assistant here under Ed Heinschel, who lost his last 2 games in the rivalry, and Mike Schoen wins his first. This was just a 2-point game at the end of the first quarter in Old St. John's from that point on. Gary Batch, tremendous. Game-high 17 points. Sam Swift chipped in with 13 as well, and they got 8 from Hornbeak and 6 each from Greenlee and Bard. St. Francis led by Stephen McCoy, who had 12, but nobody else finished in double figures for St. Francis.
Yeah, you know, the Titans we're talking about, they wanted toughness and depth, and I think tonight they got that. They got a lot of toughness step up, and they got guys off the bench that came in and contributed. You know, for St. Francis, they just didn't have that impact player come in off the bench or that player surprise and add something that they weren't expecting coming into the game, and that's why the Knights are going to come up a little short tonight. But for Coach Lewis, it'll be back to the drawing board, and I'm sure they'll be ready to get back on their winning ways next night out.
It's another rivalry game for St. Francis, like we were saying, on the road at Central Catholic on Tuesday. St. John's will go to Findlay that same night. That'll do it for Darren Cohn and our crew. Mason Lowry saying so long from the Titan Dome. St. John's wins at 60-45 over St. Francis. This has been a presentation of BCSN, seen only on Buckeye.